Okay, guys, I am back. It's Mystic, and today I want to talk about intense spiritual awakening. Okay, now you'll know if it was intense or not. You'll know if it was a subtle awakening or if it was intense. But I want to talk about it just to see, if you guys have been through it or uh, going through it, or only because maybe this could help somebody that's going through it, or can give somebody some relief that went through it, that know that they're not crazy. Because when you go through an intense awakening, it can feel like you're a little bit crazy. So the first things first is how you would know that it was intense. Usually an intense awakening happens when your foundation crumbles. So it can either be the loss of a job, not knowing where your next check is going to come from, losing your your place of living. It could be relationship breakup, a divorce, someone dies in your family. It could be something to do with addiction, like you hit rock bottom or something. But the reason it becomes intense is because you really don't know, you can't see a way out of it. And so then it's almost like your mind starts to attack itself because you're trying to figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, da, 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 da. And it gets to the point where it's so extreme and it's so mentally, um, it's a mental anguish to where you have no choice but to try to surrender. And when you get to that point, it's like, excuse me, I think a bug flew up my nose. But when you get to that point, um, that's when you get a breakthrough and spirit breaks through. And at this point, spirit starts to communicate with you through by any means necessary. Like anything. It could be through videos, it could be through people, it could be through visions, it could be through literally whatever. And I only could say this from experience. When I went through it, it was like devastating, and everything was happening in threes, and I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat for 3 days straight, 3 days, 3 nights. I started to see spirit in videos, through people. Spirit was talking to me through people. It was literally through people, like you could see it. I started to have visions. So the videos were starting to tell me to meditate and things like that. And then when you get to that point where you start to try to meditate and you start to try to calm your physical self, that's when the noticing of thoughts start to happen. You start to notice your thought process. You start to realize that these, like, the thoughts are intense. Like, it's almost like the thoughts are thinking you. Like, you're not even thinking these thoughts, but they are thinking you, and they just like pop up in bubbles out of nowhere. And it could be some creepy thoughts, it could be some thoughts that don't even make sense, or it could be whatever. But then you start to realize that those thoughts are really not yours. They are things that you picked up on along the way. Now, unconsciously, our mind records everything. Everything we hear, everything we see, smell, taste, everything. So the thoughts that are in your head, you can literally think that they're yours, and but you don't even relate to the thought. You don't even understand why you're having the thought, and it's because it is not yours. You have picked that up along the way, and now it's taking on a mind of its own, an energy of its own. It's like your mind has a mind, right? And when you actually figure this out, and you're like, now you can actually be an observer of your thoughts. So instead of getting emotionally tied to the thought, you learn to breathe through the thought, observe it. Don't look too much into it. Let it pass. And then once you are able to do that, then you start to feel a little bit lighter. And once you start to know that you're always taken care of, like, The things that we think about that could happen, like the worst thing in the world that can happen to us, usually never happens. And that's what you start to learn through the awakening, is that your greatest fear usually never happens. You usually always end up okay at the end of whatever you went through. And that is the comforting part. But as a human, and the as you've been thinking this for so long through your life, it still kind of lingers, and you still have to kind of work through it, because even though you know in your soul that everything is going to be fine, you're always taken care of, and all of these things, your human self still, well, not even your human self, the ego, the mind, the mental still wants to try to figure things out and try to know things and try to feed you that negative energy, because those thoughts have a lot of negative energy in them. So they become entities, negative entities. And I don't want to creep anybody out, but it's almost like possession. Like the thoughts are a disease. It's like, and when you try to suppress a thought that you're not, that's uncomfortable, that you really don't want to think about, when you try to suppress it, that gives it more momentum. That makes it even stronger. You think about it even more. As I heard one of the gurus say, that it becomes more perversion. So say you think a perverted thought, right? And then you're thinking like, where did that come from? And it's uncomfortable to think, so you try to push it out of your mind. You try to suppress it. Then it becomes even more perverted. Like it picks up a momentum. It almost like feeds on you not wanting to think about it. So I learned to help that. You just let the thought come, you observe it, and you let it pass. And once you let it pass, it has nothing to feed on. So you can just, let it go. But yeah, so we can do a video on the thought process if you want to get more into that. But you go through that, and then you start to have intense, vivid dreams. And in the beginning, I wasn't writing things down, but if you are going through this, a good thing is to journal all of your dreams, like journal your feelings and everything, because now I look back into my journals from a few years ago, and now I can connect the dots and see, like, wow, things that I didn't understand then, I understand now. So if you have the strength and the will, try to journal everything. Try to journal your thought process. Try to journal your feelings. Try to journal your dreams, because this stuff come in handy later on down the line. So yeah, you start to have really, really vivid dreams, and you can start seeing things. You can start hearing things. You can you can start feeling stuff. And if you are not, I don't even want to say a strong person or whatever, but if you are sensitive and you just don't really know anything about the spiritual world, well, most of us that have these awakenings, it was kind of embedded in us from birth. So you will probably have memories of some type of spiritual things happening to you, or spiritual journey, or you probably was brought up in a church or something like that. So, but if you don't really have that background, you can think you're crazy, and it can drive you crazy. I know you see these people walking around talking to themselves and out, and people be like, they crazy or whatever, and it could be from a spiritual awakening that they had, they couldn't get a handle on, because it can literally drive you crazy if you don't know that this world is just not this world. This 3D is just not all there is to our existence. It's so much more. This is a magical reality that we're in. It's not just black and white. It's an array of colors. But yeah, so you can start seeing, hearing things, and you can, at the moment, you can think you're crazy. Like, am I going crazy? I mean, it happened to me. Like, this can't be real. Like, you ready to check yourself into a mental institution or whatever, but then something, you know, brings you back. Like, why do I feel like that this isn't real, or it can't be real, or whatever, and that goes to programming, you know, because we're programmed from birth to feel a certain way, to think a certain way. So we take on um, other people's the way other people look at life and reality. And now we're at a point where we can check in with ourselves and see, does this resonate with me? If it doesn't, I can let it go. I don't have to have that agreement anymore. I can cut up that contract, and I can do now what resonates with me, what feels good to me now, you know. So that's a good thing about, you know, the spiritual awakening as well. And another thing is, then you start to, as it goes on, you start to connect the dots with like things in your past. For example, my connection with the number 8, I didn't even, you know, realize, but once I got into the journey, I realized that my life path number is 8. But I named my daughter's middle name is Infinity, because I love the infinity sign, which is an 8. And I actually have it, it's on my back, but I have the infinity sign on my back. And my daughter's birthday is 8/11, you know, or whatever. And just the 8 kind of just like, before I even realized it, it was connected to my journey. And then the 11/11 starts showing up, and then the synchronicities, the numbers and the synchronicities. And then, you know, when you go through a spiritual awakening, you start to look into soulmates and stuff like that. And then a lot of us get on a twin flame journey, which is, I made a video about the twin flame journey. Is it true? Is it false? Have we been deceived? Because I don't believe that the twin flame journey is what I believe that it was, that, and it was supposed to be what it is for us to transition into knowing exactly like what it truly is. So yeah, so check that video out. It's urgent. It says urgent twin flame, true or not, or whatever. So yeah, you start to get more into soulmates and karmics and soul families and stuff like that. And it's a really exciting journey. It is hard though. I mean, it's not easy. I won't say hard, but it's not easy. It's hard when we don't understand how to surrender, because that can be difficult for us, especially when we've been living a certain way for our whole lives. Learning how to surrender, it's like, okay, I want to surrender, I'm surrendering, but we don't know exactly how to do that or what that entails, you know. And I can make a video on that as well. But when you learn the surrender process, life becomes much easier. So again, through the spiritual awakening, that becomes another, you know, lesson to learn. Another thing is, like, we just start being bombarded with like soul lessons, like things, karmic lessons that we need to learn, and for some reason it seems like we need to learn them fast now, because things are different now. Everything is accelerated now. So what I mean by that is that you'll start to see patterns in your life, and you start to try to figure out, why is this certain pattern? Or you'll see certain people in your life, they different, but they all usually have the same energy. So you'll start to pick up on those things, and you start to try to figure that thing out, and it becomes easier over time. But in the beginning, it's pretty hard, because we don't want to let go of it, and so surrender becomes a lesson that we need to learn. So yeah, so that's one thing. Okay, and another thing is finding your soul family. That's what you start to really get into. Usually is finding people that work with you, like they have the same energy as you. And I was fortunate enough to find some beautiful souls on my journey down in Houston. My girls are amazing. Those are some beautiful, the most beautiful, they are literally earth angels. I've never in my life came in contact with souls more gentle, beautiful, understanding, non-judgmental. They love unconditionally. It's not you have to be like this or look like this or whatever. When I tell you, these people are amazing. And oh my God, when you find those people, you don't never ever ever want to let them go. I love them so much. And last thing is, you probably start to get little hints and things about plant medicine. Now that's another video, I can go into that, but that is what kind of helps me a lot along my journey is, you know, the healing of the medicine. It helps you go deep within to see the things that you really need to work on, or the things you have grew so much from. And it's an amazing experience, and I can make a video about plant medicine as well. But yeah, so I just wanted to pop in, stop by, and you know, maybe talk to the people that's going through this right now, because I know it's another wave of massive awakenings happening right now. And like I said, I'm not a big video person, but for some reason Spirit is like, try it. So I mean, nothing beats a failure but a try, right? So if you like my videos and you like what I'm talking about, please subscribe. I would love that. Please let me know if you resonate with anything that I'm saying. Please let me know if you want me to make a video about a certain topic or subject or whatever. I'm down. And so yeah, just let me know. You know, have you been through this? Like, was your experience different? Was it more intense? Did I miss something? Did something happen to you to where that, you know, that it invoked the awakening, or what? Like, I would love to know. Like, I talk back. So yeah, so it's Mystic once again, and hopefully I'll see you soon. And so yeah, thanks guys.